welcome to the Hawks Nest stream show. My name is Brandon Kane, and I thank you for watching. You know I always do, because I really do. And I'm coming back at you here after a nice little weekend here. We're getting a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of happiness and more of the thoughts of what just happened in this preseason contest between the Las Vegas Raiders and our Seattle Seahawks. I know it was a tie, but in retrospect for me, it was a most wonderful tie, partly for a lot of the reasons spoke about in the wrap-up video I posted and talking about the fact the Hawks showed out well, the rookies showed out well. They were starting, I think, a few more number ones than you were on both their sides of the ball with Raiders, with Coach Carroll trying to set a standard there. And so that did leave you, I think, just feeling like you had to kind of put that little bit in perspective of things. And really where I wanted to talk about mostly, though, on this coming out of this preseason game, because it's just the opening game at that. It is a preseason game at that. But it's also going to be a little bit more than just building upon the preseason game that just happened. Because part of what you're doing and watching this training camp go along is you're looking for not just storylines that build out of it, but things that may be unexpected or ways that you're seeing things start to move in both sometimes a positive and negative direction. And in this one, it's nothing but a positive direction. And that is that it's not just to the games, it's not just to the training camp practices, it's going back to OTAs and things you can hear about and how guys are talked about, how they're performing on the field. As I've said, if you're going to get a rookie good performance out of that rookie right out the gate, if you're hoping that they're going to give you something real good, not I got to wait 2 years down the line and then maybe they're going to be something about something. No, almost day one, they can at least give you some fast returns. It doesn't just happen game one of the NFL season. They don't fall on their face throughout training camp and OTAs, and then suddenly the light bulb goes on there. The light bulb has been ever more, getting lighter as you go along, and you're getting more and more the feeling of this guy's still really a player. He's really ready to go. And so what stands out to me here is that this rookie class of your Seattle Seahawks has so many guys in that ready-to-go quotient of things. And as so many people out there are selling us down the river this season, as far as Vegas or ESPN power rankings, I mean, just go throw a freaking dart at some pundit out there and they're pounding Seattle at the bottom of the charts every which way but loose, be it quarterbacks or as the team is rated. Now, that stuff doesn't mean a lot to me, but there is a hope at all times for me, and not just a blind hope, not just I'm a fan of the team hope, but as a I see it kind of situation that this team can push through this year. This team can make a lot of noise. Yeah, a Super Bowl would be a long shot type situation, but it is for most any of the teams in the NFL in that way. Get in the playoffs, anything can happen. Get on a right roll at the right time with just the right team, anything can happen. And I'll tell you, this team's got the right ingredients, and they're putting the recipe together. And it feels like it's really starting to come forward here now. And these rookies, with what they're showing here in the background and what might be kind of coming to the stage here, that just adds on top of what you've already been building here, and that could be the thing to take you up over the top when it's all said and done. So let's highlight a couple of guys I want to talk about first, and then we'll just get into some of the film on this, because some of it's just the numbers game involved with this. Yeah, your Seattle Seahawks had the extra third-round pick and the extra second-round pick. Let's also remember with that you had to burn one of the third-round picks to move up in the second round to take Emmanwori. So it's not just as pure that, well, you just had so many freaking picks and these guys were flashing because you had so many high picks at the top of the draft. And sure, you'd expect these talented guys to be out there and rolling. Not necessarily in that way, especially when you add on top of it a guy in Riley Mills, who you still haven't even got back on the practice field, and that was your fourth-round pick. So it's not necessarily just we've got so many draft selections, and that's why so many of these guys are doing good. Let's begin here with Zabel. You hoped you were going to get a guy in with a lot of snaps in college, albeit he had played at left tackle, who would be able to transition smoothly and easily into the left guard. Got the Steve Hutchinson stamp of approval, and he has seemingly done everything you would have hoped of when you have drafted him, within the state of realism, being that he has inserted himself into the starting lineup day one, and that may seem like a straightforward thing for a first-round pick to have happen, but let's just go look over like third-round pick Christian Haynes, who was all but earmarked to be given that starting right guard spot last year and just was not able to take advantage of it. So it's not necessarily a no-brainer. That guy just goes right in there. A lot of times you could get there on day one after drafting a kid and you can look over another coach and you can be like, well, Bill, we missed it on that one, didn't we? Yes, we did. Yes, we certainly did. And it's going to get a rough road after that. I've heard coaches and players literally talk and evaluators literally talk about how quickly sometimes they can tell when they've gotten a pick wrong. And in Zabel, he's gotten right into the starting lineup. He's been the fit to what you thought he could be with the mobility, with the power, just with some of his dexterity for the position in there, being able to sometimes correct and move his body around in ways to be able to, even if you get him kind of beat initially, he's got a course correction to get himself back under himself and stay in front of you as a blocker. And all of this was on wide display in the Raiders. Show you I got 10 actual cut-ups here of him. I'm going to show you. I'm sure many of you have already seen a lot of the all-22 of him. So we're looking at him. But we're looking at a guy who can come in and give you almost not impact play, I think, from the jump here, but can give you really, really good play here from the jump. And he led the way with these guys in this first game. He's led the way kind of quietly, even though our eyes get kind of affixed on a couple of these other guys because of their super high upside. He's that steadying force in this draft class. And when you look at the PFF scores coming out of the game here from last week, let's look first at the offensive side of it. Good to see Abraham Lucas up at the top there with an 81.5. Eric Saubert, boy, was he steady in this game, and he made a hell of a catch on a really tough throw out away from his body. It wasn't deep down the field, but it was not easy. You could see he also brings the blocking element into play. You knew you're getting that, but then who is there at number 4? That's right, Gray Zabel in there at number 4. All around, well rated on the day with an 81.2 grade in his very first NFL action. Now, did he have a tremendous test in front of him? No, but as I said, the Raiders were basically running like their ones on defense right out the gate, including Max Crosby, who he had to deal with at one point in time. So don't just throw that 81.2 grade away like it's nothing. It's something. It means a little bit of something here. And so he's out there doing what he's doing in this game, looking really good as well. Also, you can see that in top 12, 13 of your grades, you've got a couple of rookies in here mixed on in throughout on that. Good to see Mike Jarrell popping up as well. Tory Horton, a guy we're going to show a little bit of film as well. No surprise there that he had a good day. He was targeted heavily. It wasn't always the throws on time or on target to him when he was targeted, so it wasn't his fault, but I think he was running some very nice routes out there and showing off some of what he brings. Robbie, Ouzts, 72.2, the fullback. He only had 8 total snaps, folks, but man, you would have thought he had 50 snaps the way I've seen some people talking about him, and I love it. I'm here for it. Yeah, he had a good day. He showed you what you can get with the fullback, and you better believe we're going to look at a couple snaps of him too. Don't you deny that. We're going to be coming along with that. You can see as we go down here along the bottom side, you got a little bit of the rough edges in here too as well. Some of the offensive line scores are still kind of in a touchy spot overall when you break down here. You got Richmond there who has equated himself, I think, a little bit nicely into this offensive line. It's maybe just a little bit better than Cable do based on some of the reports and where we're at right now, and maybe kind of a 2-horse race between those guys on who gets to make the roster spot and who doesn't. Elijah Arroyo, not a bad day, 57.1, but you can see on the 74.2 grade that he received, that 74.2 grade is going to be on, which is kind of cool here, the pass blocking, and they did not love necessarily his how he ran all of his routes, but he made a nice play out there, and again, wasn't out there a lot. So some of this is going to be a tiny bit sample size on a few of these guys. 48.1 was his run blocking grade over there. That's what that number means. So he got dinged a little bit for that, but we knew this. So that's the part. Let's not be surprised by that. Let's not get too much on him in that. If he can be a dynamic force down the football field as a pass catcher, as a mismatch machine, I'm not going to worry as much about the run blocking stuff. It's just not, yes, it's something I'm hoping that will grow with time. He'll get after it. He's willing. It's kind of somewhat going to be, I think, a thing that you need to give him a couple years in this league and let him, kind of grow into that grown man strength, and then it will improve because I think the can-do's there. Damian Martinez had a little bit of a rough day. He was one of the rookies that maybe just failed to impress as much. Let's give the kid a chance. I'm not throwing it off now like he's got no. It was a little bit, it wasn't as grand as I think we were kind of hoped for him. For some of us who thought he could be another one of those steals in this draft, as well. Anthony Bradford 53.8, okay. Jalen Sundell 50.9, Haynes at 50.1. So. Some of the offensive line scores you can see. I'm not taking this as the end-all be-all, but even LeMaya down there at the bottom, 46. So, when you go down through like your bottom 3 of your 4 there, everybody's an offensive lineman. It is still a work in progress, folks. Hold on to your butt cheeks. All right, we get over to the defensive side of the football. Mike Morris led the way for you with 87.2, but then there's an undrafted rookie free agent who I've been trying to tell you all about. Jared Ivey. Yeah, I know he didn't test well, but the man's just a football player. I didn't have a chance to get the film together for him. I'm going to be keeping a real close eye on this kid, but he was a monster all around in this football game. He was setting hard edges. He is really big, so he's hard for tackles to deal with out there. 84.4 grade for a rookie in his first action, fighting to get a roster spot. And this is the type of way you get yourself onto a roster, is being an all-around good player on the snaps they give you. And they gave him 34 reps here, so this isn't small sample size necessarily. You almost gave him near kind of starter reps here if you take him over the course of the game. Connor O'Toole had 3 pressures in this game on the back of his 81.6 grade as well, so he was impressive on that. I don't think he's got much of a chance of making the roster here, but maybe a practice squad guy that you can add to the mix. Nick Emmanwori only had 11 snaps. I got one cut up for you of Nick Emmanwori, but a 70.4 grade, which is mighty fine for a guy getting his first action. And on the play that he made, I think he kind of smushed his hand a little bit, which is why maybe he didn't play a little bit more than that. I think he kind of went out after that fairly soon. I don't think it was major, injury. Just you saw him grimacing, and it didn't look great. So a couple of other rookies up there on that. Defensively, you don't have as many kind of rookies, I think, as you do over in the offensive side of the ball to kind of concentrate on this. You can see the guys at the bottom of this are mainly guys that are not really factors for the most part in being on the roster. Certainly Brandon Peely, you'd like to see him up a little bit better in what he's bringing. His best grade was in his tackling, but you're really looking at Brandon Peely as being a nose tackle. Like, where's your run defense grade? Not the best. I thought he played a little bit better than this grade kind of fits out. So these grades aren't the end all be all in this. I think some of the film shows out better. Bahana, I think he played a little bit better than a 49.3 grade as well. But nobody of real note of high picks down there at the bottom that didn't show up in that way. You can see the guys at the top there for you defensively really did. But let's get over here just to some of the film I wanted to show you guys on this, and so we could talk a little bit about it and what kind of gets me hyped with this, as well as just kind of get into a kind of final point on that with just what this does mean for the football team overall for the 2025 season. How this can factor in and elevate you. Think of a team like the New Orleans Saints in 2017. And we're not in the same state of where they were. But you're in this old car. You haven't changed a lot of stuff in the engine for a while. You're trying to roll on old spark plugs. That thing's just barely getting down. You're like, oh gosh. And then you get the equivalent of an engine remodel by drafting a shutdown outside corner and Trey Hendrickson and Alvin Kamara and dynamic safety in the back end. And you inject this talent. It's not only really good talent, but is really ready to play right out the jump. And that team nearly pushes its way into a Super Bowl, if not for a horrendous call. Not horrendous. I guess that wasn't the horrendous call. I think that was the Minneapolis Miracle. I think the next year was the horrendous call with the Rams, if I'm maybe remembering that right. So it can really elevate you. But let's take a look at these guys, and let's start with the guy that I talked about at the top, who's just so impressive in this game to me, and really that steadying force aspect of it. I'm not talking about a dominator. I'm talking about a guy who's getting his job done every time, almost every rep. That's just getting it done. My guy's not getting past me. It may not be always the prettiest of reps, but I'm getting the job done, and I'm keeping my quarterback protected. Gray Zabel is going to be the guy that we're going to concentrate here on these 10 reps. He is your left guard. So you want to be locking in here where I got my highlighter on this. And we're going to just go through a couple of these. And this film basically, I think, shows off all of what he sort of brings to play. The pass protection, the move in space, that dexterity to correct yourself when things go a little bit awry. You can see that, I think, all over on this tape. And so first you get a guy one gapping. What's one gapping? I'm trying to shoot and attack a single gap here, right? So the defensive tackle's on his outside shoulder, starting out in what would be a typical 3-tech kind of position. Then he's going to try to cross his face and shoot the gap. They're sort of anticipating this is an inside zone, I'm guessing, here to Holani and how they think this is going to go, and they catch him with more of a delay, draw. But you can see here, first the quickness. You got the foot speed to stay with the 3-tech and then ride him out of the play. The beauty of this system is if you know your guy's going to run himself out of the play, you don't have to be dominant in the block, just run him out. Give you guys one here. Just boom, you're gone. Nice little play for Holani, right up that hole that was cleared out by that guy shooting the gap. It's also Carroll's defense is a little more gap shooting centric than ours is right now. At least that's been him historically speaking. Again here, left tackle, left guard. Kind of play it for you guys once here before I see him right here. Lined up to Josh Jones. So you can see here, just stands his guy up. Whole line, he's right past his back. Is he moving him 5 yards out of space? No. He's just shielding him out of the way of the play. Doesn't go for more at this point, but he's done his job as far as it's, this is concerned. And the hands, good base. Hands get a little wide at first, but this is the help. Josh Jones is kind of clearing them. There's Josh Jones on his left there. It makes it hard for I'm kind of surprised the official didn't quite see it. I think the official probably feels like he got his hands a little closer in there. But it's not egregious outside, but that's right on the line. Still, good base with his feet. Locks it in there. Not a bad rep. You get away with it, it's a beautiful rep. That's how that goes. Exactly how that goes. Again, left guard here, 76. Just another gap shooting. Like I said, this is kind of Carroll's defense. He wants a little bit more of the TFLs from his defensive linemen at times. So he'll let those guys run a little bit free and wild. But the feet to stay with this all the way through. I know he collapsed at the end. That's part of that. Like, it won't always have to look, it's not always going to look pretty, but it's going to be right. The guy is no threat on this play. Other people give up pressure here, but he gets his guy down on a knee. You get your guy down on a knee in pass protection, that's a dominant rep. That's a pancake block for pass pro to me. So both of these first couple reps, you see the movement there. A little bit of the base and power. Again, the base and power here on this rep. And this is on the interception, which we're going to talk about in a second with Tory Horton. But right in there again, hands a little bit wide. It's on the line. Officials will, depends on the officiating crew you're dealing with, who will let him get away with it, who don't. But they're letting him with where he's at, and it is on the line. And again, the good base. He's done this at the combine too, where he's got that move down as a left guard, where you can have him right here, and okay, he's at the end of his base, which is what I call it. He's at the end of his base, meaning he's lost basically almost all of his base by how it feels. Fully on the front foot, guys getting into him, and you see him getting twisted back a little bit, and he sort of finds this like magical little 10% extra strength to kind of relock the block in. He was doing this on the Senior Bowl reps a lot. So boom, 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 and then watch him get backed right there, and then he can kind of just root in. He just roots right in at that point, gives him like that last little vestige, a little bit of that percentage point there, where you're down to the 2%, and then suddenly you hit the med button, and it gives you that little, but it's not a full medi. It's a 10% medi, so it's only giving you 10% on it, but it's that 10% is just enough. Yeah, stand right there. Gotcha. Another nice rep. Why do you get this good grade? When do the grades sometimes, for all the people who want to beat on PFF, when do sometimes the grades actually match up to what you get to see on the tape? Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But is it getting better all the time? And do more often than not, when I'm watching the tape, the grades basically align to, for the most part, what I see. It certainly tends to be less egregious than sometimes how people will often talk about it. There are mistakes that are made, no doubt. You can't know every play, no doubt. But sometimes it does align up well. Left guard here. Hands again, gets a little bit high to the outside, but corrects it back in good, and he's good right there. Doesn't let his hand slip to the head, stays at the chest. Sundell's looking for somebody to help. Bradford's handling his man. Zabel's handling his guy. It's a nice, clean pocket for Drew Lock right there. And Sundell eventually comes over and helps, but Zabel don't need it. He's got it. That defensive lineman's just looking for when the opportunity he's going to get to try to jump, knock the ball down. Good active feet. See those feet just keep correcting, keep staying in there. An offensive lineman would be like, it's not a perfect rep. He could do this or he could do that. But he gets it done. Here we go again. Left guard for you here. It's kind of hard to see because he's right on the foul pole with these all 22 angles. Sometimes they're not the best on that. But gets off the line, gets a little bit of help, doesn't really need it. Jones doesn't really do much to help him, quite frankly. Jones is kind of like, you got this, man. I'm going to go over here. No, you got this handled. Strong base, active feet. You feel that nice torqued up power there. As soon as he's settling in, just you're not getting anywhere else. That's like that country strong stuff. That Midwestern country strong. Is that where that comes from? Maybe. Gets a little high here at the end. But that's as much the rip move. So I don't think the official is going to cause this because the defender's creating it with the rip. He's up there already. But then the defender kind of does him a favor with the rip, because then to the official, is it, by the time you get up into here, is it see how the defender's arm comes up on the rip? Is it the rip? Is the defender pulling the guy's arm to him at that point? Or is the offensive lineman holding him? Again, on that line, I mean, is it on the line? Yeah. Is it savviness? Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that too. Got him over here on the left side of your screen there. Movement on the run here. This is going to be more, I think, akin to a little bit of a closer. This is going to be more of a reach block. So reach block is where you don't have a guy right in front of you. As you can see my cursor on the screen here. There's nobody in front of you. So you've got to get lateral way out over here into space, hit that block, heads up, keep your feet moving with the block, and try to keep it controlled. It's not always as much about getting the man moved down the football field, but it's a very tough block to sustain because you're going to be late to it, right? That defensive lineman, if he gets upfield, knowing the way that Raiders wanted, hit that shooting at the gaps I just talked about with like a Carroll defense, and instead the defender kind of does him a favor here by taking sort of a lateral step to the left there, a false lateral step to the left, got him caught out of position here on this play a bit. But knowing that, it's still a really tough block to get over to for an offensive lineman. It requires linemen that have mobility to hit these blocks. If you're just a big can of dirt, like that just sits there and just sort of takes on big men and hopefully you can keep him in front of you, you're not getting to this block over here. That's a good couple yards away, or at least a yard and a half away. Gets to the block. Notice too some of the detail-driven nature stuff of Kubiak's system. 74 is there to help with the controlling factor. Control. Let's make sure my guy Zabel can catch up. If the defensive tackle shoots out to 74's left shoulder, Zabel very well could then be picking up the linebacker. This is the zone feel of this. This isn't necessarily always going to be constructed every play where it plays out this way, where part of the reason that 74 ends up engaging this block is because that left step there. See that left step? Left. I'm talking about the defensive lineman, by the way. So the defensive lineman right in front of Zabel. Look at that left step. That's what then brings it back, I think, into Jones. That brings it into Jones to where he's got to make sure he's got his guy controlled, and then he's going to go to the second level. And if it's more of that guy shoots out hit outside of Jones's left shoulder, now he's able by the zone scheme, block to space, not to man, you're going to now go look for the linebacker in the second level. But because it plays out this way, and it's not just as simple as this, of course, because still 74 is not here to block him. He just kind of holds that guy up. You get into him, I'll get down to the second level, and we can create an alleyway, which you almost do. And you can see here, Arroyo just can't get his guy widen out quite enough. Kind of gets hold. I think there's a hold on this play by Arroyo. See, he kind of hooks him up at the end there and loses the block. But a nice little block, and also a nice little kind of example from Kubiak's system here of some of the little detail-driven stuff you're going to get in the run game. It's very intricate, this run game. It's very, guys got to read things a little bit more lively. Old school, back in 2005, Walter Jones, he's lined up, head up over a defensive end. That's who he's handling and taking care of all day long. He's not thinking about doing much else. He might pull a couple times on the day this way or that way, but for the most part, he's getting after it. Very straightforward fashion. It's just not quite the same now. Got to be a little bit more intricate. Zabel here in pass pro. Nice throw and catch here to Arroyo. And we got left guard here again. Handles him well. And ends up dumping 2 for 1 right at the end there. Gets a 2 for 1 dump. He must have had his brand muffin this morning. I'm just kidding. It's a good rep. You always love it when you can 2 for 1 and you can get a third down conversion. Lock with a nice throw, by the way, here, and not a little bit of a bad route there by Arroyo. Like him catching the ball out away from his body like that. 2 more reps here for Zabel. inside, get back over to the reach block. This play doesn't go anywhere because Holani ends up tripping. But again, still technically a reach block for the most part here, where the guy's almost heads up in almost a nose tackle roll here. And Zabel's got to get down to him. And then he's sort of shooting a gap a bit here. So again, it's a tough catch for Zabel. But Sundle's doing a little bit of a similar thing to what you saw Jones do on this play. And this is one of those little detail parts that's so important, but so hard to see at times. And this is the part where people could get mad at PFF and going, well, that's how it's hard for you to grade them on this, because what if you have this play where the center's supposed to help take out that defensive tackle for one step like this? Help. See that help there by Sundle? As I pause it, and then Zabel's on him, and then he gets to the next level. So what happens when that guy just completely flubs his block, climbs the second level, knocks out his guy at the second level, but then Zabel doesn't have that one little half step to catch back up on the reach block? That's the part where it's like, well, that's the fair criticism. But it's a nice block on his part. It's, again, I wouldn't call this letter picture perfect, but he's just got that kind of tenacity and sort of grit to him where it's going to find a way to get the block done. The guy doesn't get turned back and sort of, I don't know what they're doing arm in arm here. Dose, round and round, here we go. Dose-y-do, do-do-do. Round and round, here we go. Dose-y-do, do-do-do. That's a weird rep. Both of them with their back turned and Holani on his knees. But not a bad rep on his part. He didn't mess it up. Holani just couldn't keep his feet. Holani was just like, I'm busting these guys up too hard. I gotta give them a little bit back here. I'm costing guys their NFL livelihood here. Last rep here for the old Zabel Express. Choo-choo, as I like to call him. What's your name? Choo-choo. I hit people there. Knock out like a train hit him. Choo-choo. Nice stand-up rep here. Again, he's got help on his right, but he literally like halfway into this rep, he's like, nah, Jaylen, I got this. I got this, man. Nah, he's mine. I'm good. Go over there. Look at Anthony. You know Anthony needs help. What are you doing? Go over to Anthony. I'm all right, dog. I'm good. No, I'm going to help you a little bit. Oh, man. I was doing so good. And then look at this catch by Saubert. Whoa. Why do people like Locke so much at times? Because that arm, just that hose, that wonderful hose. It's glorious. Tight little window. Great catch by Saubert. Great catch by Saubert there. So we got a little bit of love there. Zabel leading the way, steadying force. All of that's good. Who about our next guy up? Do a quickie on this one. Do a little quickie. That's going to be on Nick Emmanwori. How good's Nick Emmanwori? Nick Emmanwori is so good that he can be off screen of the all-22 and chase an outside zone play to the weak side away from him on the strong side and make the tackle still in the backfield. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. I know he's kind of like the Flash. Wait, where'd he come from? Where's he? Yes, he just appears from somewhere off screen suddenly. He's so good he can teleport. Teleporter Wari is what they used to call him in college. It's given that label of speed, but it's more teleportation. Gotcha. Backside, 8 snaps. That's all he played. The kid's going to be an impact player. I know full on from day one on this. I don't know if that light's coming on instantaneous in that way with this. But the reports from camp, what I've seen with my own eyes at camp, the many interceptions he's had at camp, the way they're using him all over the place on the football field as a blitzer, all over the place in coverage, great hands back there. But he's got a level of speed and explosiveness that you could even feel on just a few of those snaps. That play in particular, they had a great angle on the telecast, was almost right behind him, and you could just, feel that there's kind of an ignition there when he goes. And this is a guy that, as much as anybody in this class, him and Zabel on the two here, your first two picks, they look as close to being ready to be almost on the line from impactful day one as anybody in this class, but they legitimately so look that spot. They're in that area. It's not, I think, falsely kind of inflating them up. You hear even guys like Corbin talking about, I think, a yellow jacket on Emmanwori at some point, and he's not a guy that talks like that about those type of things. So you got two guys already here out the gate with our first two picks. We're going, okay, we've got a couple something here with them on these first two. Like these guys they're going to come in this year and they're going to add to this. They're not just going to be holding on for dear life. They're not going to be like rookie moments up and then down, up and then down, up and then down. It will be more up than down, and probably significantly so in both of their cases at that. So then we get to Arroyo. Wasn't bad in the first game. He has been at times during training camp having his days and his moments where he's looked really good. I think it was about a week and a half ago. Somebody said he would have had over 100 yards receiving on one of the days in training camp. You have another throw from training camp just 2 or 3 days ago where he's making a catch out on an out route and he just sort of sticks one hand up there and just kind of reels it on in. But by all accounts, he is what they hoped they were getting in him when he walked in the door. That where he's maybe getting a bit lost in the shuffle versus some of these other rookies, they're getting a little more acclaim to fame, and Jaylen Milroe with some of the people who want, to see with him on that. He's a guy that's not being bad at all. And again, for what you want this year from him in that 25 role is be that guy that's a chess piece we bring out at times on offense, that you're going through your offense normally, and then you're throwing some here to Cooper Kupp, and you're working some Kenneth Walker and some Zach Charbonnet. And then, of course, JSN's being featured a heavy amount over here. And you've got some Barner coming into the factor here as well. And then you just have this one guy you can kind of roll out, where he just kind of walks off the sideline and the defense is concentrating on this and that and pre-snap indicators to this guy and pre-snap indicators to that guy. And this guy becomes the guy a bit lost in the shuffle. And suddenly now he's got a mismatch that he can not just exploit, he can dominate. And on those reps where you use him in that way you've got a huge yards per catch attempt situation. He's going to end up stacking good, maybe 25 catches in that first year, but there'll be some big plays. There'll be some touchdowns factored down in by the red zone. And I think in his case, that's exactly where he's heading towards. And if he can provide that to this team in 25 with these other factors coming in, and with your other also increased parts from your rookie class like you're getting with Zabel and Emmanwori, what does that add to the team? How much closer does that team take it to a place that's not a loser, not a fourth place team in the NFC West, but can truly maybe push for a division title this year? So Emmanwori wasn't as much all over the place on the film. Arroyo, sorry, not Emmanwori, but Arroyo wasn't as much all over the film in this game. He got a decent amount of snaps. Wasn't a lot featured in the passing game. Some of this was, I think, the Seahawks really trying to lean into wanting to run the football, and I'm sure they're trying to get a good amount of reps on what they could see from him as a run blocker in this game a little bit more. I bet that's a little bit of the investigation they were doing on him to see what he could bring with that. But another guy that's been solid in what he's brought. And then we've got Ouzts. And we've got to talk about Ouzts, I think, here a little bit because the fullback's coming back, baby, in a big effing way. You thought it was dead. You thought it was gone. You thought it was going to be the dodo bird. We'd be seeing these old pictures and they're like, yeah, this thing used to be a fullback. It'd come out on the football field. It had its own size and weight. It just hit linebackers in the hole all day long. And it was glorious. It was glorious. Glorious. We're coming back, boys. We're back. Robbie Ouzts Express. Whoop, whoop. He's built that unique way. He isn't a tight end. That's a fullback. It's not an H-back. It's a fullback. He's going to go up in the hole, and you're going to have teams who will spend 4 or 5 weeks not dealing with a fullback. A middle linebacker is a little sore, maybe a little older player. Oh, man, my shoulder's a little bit sore. I hope we get a finesse team this week. We got some spread action this week. We got an air raid team this week by any chance? No, man. No, we're getting the Shanahan offense. Oh, man. Well, they don't got a fullback, right? There's only like 3 of those. No, they got one. Is he any good? Mm-hmm. He hurts. He hurts a lot, man. Oh, man. And then think about like you're going that sort and you're all right. There are going to be some business decisions at times. But there's really going to be what I think you'll see by and large 2 different things that I want to talk about with this. And one is that you don't have to deal with it very often. And so you're not used to always how to take these blocks on anymore in the hole like inside linebackers and off-ball linebackers would in years history, where it was just, it was normalized and you knew how to take on that fullback in the right way to make sure you're taking care of your gap and to make sure you weren't getting cleared out of the hole and make sure you're forcing the running back to then bounce the ball outside as opposed to having that fullback come in there and lay that last final block to clear things out. But then that's the second part of this, is that you got to feel from Ouzts in this game with a fullback and what that does for you when you get the numbers game to one side of the football field and you get the extra numbers over there and maybe one of the defenders is a little late to slide over in the right spot. And now you've got them set up to where you've got Ouzts basically set up and lined up in a place to be able to spring that final block to where if he can hit that block, really there's not much Hololani or any the ball carrier has to do at that point. They're gone city. They get to at least go bust a 15, 20, 25, 50-yard run even. And that's a lot where you see a lot of those big runs come out of the back of. And we saw this with Sean Alexander back in 05 with Max Strong. And that he'd come through and you'd have the blocking just right and everything. And that wasn't even a real zone. That wasn't at all really a zone-centric system. But it would be the same kind of concept where that fullback gets out, football gets into a real muddled place post-snap, bodies go this way, bodies go that way, and suddenly you can get into a real clear situation where you have your running back, you have your fullback, and then you have this linebacker who's gotten clear and freer of all the traffic, and he's like, I'm ready, here I am. And suddenly he's got to go take on a 270-pound fullback, first clear himself of that, and then go up and get to the 4-3-7 running back behind him. Good effing luck. Good effing luck. Look at Ouzts here. We got number 40, your fullback here. We got a beautiful I formation kind of look here. Raiders bringing some extra bodies down by the line of scrimmage here. Take note. You've got a front four set up already. Then you've got four more guys behind them, and you can still even see the safety creeping. He's creeping up over the top. Ouzts catches it. You free it up. Hololani with a nice broken tackle in the open field. But Ouzts just kind of creates a pile of bodies here. Like Zabel earlier a little bit. He's got two defenders in here. 45 Devin White. Oh yeah, Max Crosby, no big deal. Two guys that have both been pretty good players in this league. It's just what I do. That's fullback life. But you can see here, handles Crosby. Obviously, Crosby's got to try to read this a little bit, but then he gets the 2-for-1. That pile of bodies thing I'm talking about. This isn't sometimes just the scheme. It's just that the chaos of a play where you just get a bunch of guys all just kind of, I can't get around this guy. Oh, I lost my angle around this guy. And then you get the fullback able to eliminate that final guy. And this has been the thing that times you could see missing in our offense where you imagine this being like, let's say you bring two tight ends down to that side of the football field. And now you're trying to block Crosby with Saubert. You're trying to block the outside linebacker there with your tight end. And then one of them loses that block. And then now Walker's got to get around the penetration in the backfield, because it's a mismatch against a Crosby on a Saubert there. But Crosby having to read it off the snap and then able to kind of just hit him late there with Ouzts works beautifully. Springs Hololani for a nice play, and then Hololani makes his stick with that nice little dead leg move. It's not really a juke to me, just kind of that dead leg. He's good with that. He's got such good contact balance off the back of it. He can handle people kind of ripping through his ankles. That goes back to his Boise State tape, by the way. So a really nice play here, but this is what you get with a fullback. They can be that final little X factor to bust in the play on open, and not even again in just a devastating block where they're just decleating a guy in the hole, which is a little bit more akin to closer to what he does on this play. Again, similar kind of look here. He's moving a little bit post-snap. You get a guy this big with some forward momentum moving post-snap, and look at the poor, I think that's a corner there. Look at the poor cornerback. And you can see that what you do is you pin everything inside with your two tight ends. So Arroyo and Saubert, they're just going to pin everything in. They're just a wall. See how he's even got his arm on his hip there? Think of them like a two-man wall here. Their job is to close the door on everything front side, and then Ouzts eliminates the cornerback, and then you get a one-on-one opportunity for your running back. And any running back worth his salt with a one-on-one opportunity should be able to win that in the open field. If you're in a hole, if you're in confined spaces, okay. But if I've got a running start to a guy who's As you can see, are 6 yards away, 7 yards away from Hololani as it stands right now. And I know I've got enough time from Hololani's perspective to look at that guy and know I've got the time to shake him here. You should win that. And Hololani does. Doesn't take away from the fact it's a great move by Hololani. Fantastic move by Hololani. And again, that contact balance, you try to go for his ankles, he's going to be able to get through that. He's got that little jump maneuver to get through it. But all set up there by Ouzts, getting right up in there. And no 190-pound cornerback is going to be able to handle a 270-pound fullback. And it's hard. It's easy if you're a tight end. You got a tight end over there, and you're thinking you're setting yourself up for the tight end battle. It's another thing when you have to read this post-snap, and then you get the fullback in your face. That's a whole different scenario to me, like we saw with Crosby a second ago, where now I've got to process post-snap, and then I've suddenly got a guy with forward momentum right on top of me. Not too easy. Not a lot of fun. Defenses don't like dealing with this type of stuff. That's the type of thing that can wear teams down over the course of the game if you're committed to it. We've got a little bit of an Ouzts catch here. Nothing too fancy, but a little bit more of a showing off of his ruggedness. He gave a little bit of yak here and then finishes the run. A little spin off the top. So still not just a guy that's going to be a nothing burger as far as just blocker goes. He's got some pass catching ability. Alabama didn't use him in this way. Alabama had, was it CJ Dupree, I think, was their tight end there. So they had more of their, featured tight end they wanted to throw to. But he's got capable hands. If you throw to him and he's not going to make some contested catch situation, he's going to pick it. And then do that fullback thing where he gets a little bit mean afterwards. How about Tory Horton? Guy didn't even talk about the top. There's so many rookies here that we haven't had a chance to speak to. Let's talk about Tory Horton here for a second. I do see we got a few donations. We'll bounce right over there in just a sec. Tory Horton has been another guy. Not just about the preseason game. Not just about training camp. Not just about the scrimmage. It's about he's looked really good from the moment he's gotten out on the field as a receiver from that injury. That injury that allowed him to fall. He didn't fall because he was deficient in athleticism or speed or quickness, because he's going to be a yak guy, because he couldn't give you multiple things on a football field, more things than just being a wide receiver, that he wouldn't be capable of playing both inside, outside, a punt returner. And he's shown all these things off to you throughout training camp. And he has just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger as training camp has gone along. The more comfortable he gets, the better he seems to do. My own eyes saw him do some real strong things just in person. The catch he made where he's running a streak down the sideline and the ball's thrown back and he's got to jump up in the air and float in the air and reach back for the ball, reel the ball back in, track it the whole way, get the feet down with a real condensed space there in the back of the end zone, is not a play that guys luck into from the receiver position. You don't have hands, you don't have body control, you don't have tracking. You're not doing any of that. You're not even every once in a while pulling off those kind of plays. But he's been pulling off those plays quite a lot. And the team tried to target him 7 times here in the first preseason game, and him getting targeted that much and not only getting more than the 3 catches is not as much his fault. Some of that's just kind of Drew Lock, not always on the right throws, accuracy, the timing of it, part of which I'll feature for you guys in a second. But this NFL game started out with a Tory Horton catch. That's how we began in this game. Right out the gate. And nothing fancy on it, just a stop route off the rip. But he even showed off a little bit of that. You're going to get yak from this guy. His stop yak to the lateral turn like that, that's also what makes him such a good punt returner. You can have him dead set in your sights there for the tackle, and he just kind of makes you look silly because he can just kind of bounce around you. Part of what you felt a little bit as well on his touchdown catch, which came a little bit later. And I want to show the touchdown catch from just 2 different angles of this that I thought were very cool. And so we're going to show a little bit of the pre-play first here for you before I get to the post-play. So you've got him down in a condensed split. He is on the line of scrimmage, I believe, here by the angle of things. So he's got to deal with press coverage here. Now that's going to be tough, isn't it? So you got your other guys in off coverage. Drew Lock looks at the situation. He goes, we got some Raiders over there to deal with our 2 there. I don't really like that. I'd like to try to let's get the press coverage off Tory. So what does a smart scheme do to help remove press coverage and better inform Drew Lock about the coverage? We're going to move the running back in motion. Damian Martinez moves in motion, forces the outside corner to stretch outside. And then look at that. Watch it again here. Just watch that top of the screen, what happens. So we go from the start of this play, Tory Horton with press coverage, and right before the snap we end up with Tory Horton uncovered, no press coverage. Now Drew Lock's got the look he likes. He's got Tory Horton matched up against the off-ball linebacker, the Will there. And he knows he's got him on a shorter route here, so he knows he's got a good chance of getting this ball in there if he can just pump it in with enough velocity. But love the pre-snap, pre-play setup. I want to get it over to Horton here. I don't like my matchups over here to this side of the field. Run him in motion, remove the coverage off. Now my guy basically gets like a free release slot, even though he is on the line of scrimmage. One more time, just want to show this. Very cool little, and you can see you got the Raiders now having to try to communicate right before the snap. Just another thing you like to see. Then watch what happens post-snap. Inside linebackers like to get over there. Corner can't get over and help. Touchdown. But a very quick out route. See how fast he gets out into that route to make himself available for Lock. And then, of course, the yak again. It's subtle little yak here. This isn't open field stuff, but there's a lot of receivers here that would just fall down at the 2-yard line. And he's just kind of, he's inventive in the open field and how he uses his ability to break tackles. Shows up quite often in that way. But nice play on his part. Just 3 catches in this game. But this kid, as much as about this game, was about him now building upon that performance to get to where he's going to get where I think is a player. And he has been one of your stars in training camp. He's been one of those guys that seems like every day is showing up with a catch here, catch there, that people are noting him. They're noting that he's faster than the 4.41 that he was timed. He himself saying that when I was timed at the combine at that speed, I wasn't fully still healthy. I wasn't back from that injury. This could be a guy that's really more in that 4.3-ish kind of range of things when it's all said and done, and really how fast he is on a field. And then he can be that deep threat. He can be that burner. And he is right now put Marquez Valdes-Scantling behind him on the depth chart. Mike McDonald noted it the other day when asked about it with, and he kind of, the nice thing I like about Mike McDonald with his press conferences is he always is going to let you have a little bit. There's something there that he's letting out. As long as you can kind of understand how he's saying and what he means on it, that's giving you a little bit of an insight into the situation. And the insight that I would have taken away with the Scantling situation is just that Scantling's being a pro. Scantling understands. And that's how he kind of said, he's like, he understands, he knows, he understands. And what he means by that, I think, is just that this guy's out there just tearing it up. We can't play you because you're the vet. We can't just, this guy's over here doing this. We have to elevate him. He's the 3 now. If he's going to be that, we'll get you out there. You're going to get your snaps, but look at him. It's just one of those awkward conversations with the coach where you're just like, Marquez, look what he just did. What do you want me to do, man? We freaking got to steal. We got our Puka. You going to get mad at me for that? We drafted so well. I'm sorry, man. You're on the roster. I don't know what to tell you. Embarrassment of riches. That's what I'll tell you. So Horton, again, is going to be a guy that's going to factor in this year. I thought by the end of the year, he'd have slid his way into 4th spot. I think we're getting almost closer and closer to an inevitability here where maybe even by game 1, if he's not your basically 3rd wide receiver, and I'm talking about in the pecking order, not as your slot, but 3rd wide receiver, that it's very close to cracking into it, or it's a 3A, 3B situation between the 2 of your receivers and how you're going to run it. I don't know which way that part of it's going to go, but it seems like that's where this thing is trending. And this is not a typical thing you're going to see from a 5th round pick, especially when you already have your 2 wide receiver positions well solidified in Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So the fact that he's getting this done shows, I think, some of the legitimacy of how he's played. And another guy that I think is going to make some legitimate impact this year. And just start with him as a punt returner. I think you're getting some impact from him this year with that. Then I think as a pass catcher as well, much like what you had with Arroyo as the tight end, I think he gives you even some more catches than Arroyo at this point. And then you're going to see a guy at the end of the year where you're going, wow, 29, 30 catches and 450, 475 yards on the season. And you start kind of cobbling this all together. You get a little over 1,000 from JSN and 850 from Cooper Kupp or 900. And then 350, 400 from Barner. And then get another 400 from Arroyo. And then get another 475 from Horton. And then you get your running backs brought into bear and what they're bringing on it. And you start to put together an offense that's actually able to get things done, go score some points, move those chains. One last guy I want to talk about. I buried him a little bit with this. Got a couple of cut-ups to show of him, and that's going to be Jaylen Milroe and in this game. And next Monday, I'm actually going to very happy. We're going to have Bryce Coots on from Hawks Zone for the first time here on the channel. And we're going to do a show as he is a former quarterback, and we had some good discussions over on the berm and training camp, watching Jaylen Milroe, and really just getting into the depths of the mechanics with Jaylen. Because a lot of with Jaylen, it is going to be, how he can kind of correct that stuff mechanically over time. It's certainly coming forward from where it's been in college. He's got the work ethic to do it. I'm hopeful that he can be the guy to, pull this off and make it work. It was a successful opening game for him out there with the Raiders. You were deep into the fours by the time he got on the field. I think many of us were kind of hoping we'd get a little bit less Locke and more Milroe. And just so we get more of a view of him, especially with some of the guys that were more capable. There was a lot of penalties on the field that I don't think had anything to do with him when he was out there, which then made his job harder to execute. And then with the job hard to execute, that's where that PFF grade, I think, got a little bit tough on him, not taking into account some of that stuff. But what I liked as much as anything from him on the field was a little of what we're going to see on this play. And it wasn't always 100% successful in this game, but it was successful enough that it's encouraging for me because it wasn't as much of what you'd get from him in college at all times in his commitment to it. And that's going to be the multiple reads. The going through with that head, snapping back and forth, looking not just at one target, staring it down to death like you're Medusa. Because when you do that, that's instead of him turning into stone, you turn him into interceptions. But just finding a way with the defense, even at times, even if you're not looking at that full read, that you're just taking the defense's eyes away from where you want to throw the ball to create a little bit of a bigger window for you. Because with Milroe, what he's going to have is he's going to have arm strength at all times. He's going to have an ability to pump balls in, even down the field, intermediate passes into semi-tight spaces at times. I think the accuracy part we're going to have to pay attention to a little bit, and this part we'll get into with Bryce on Monday with how the accuracy can improve over time so that he can get a little more pinpoint. It doesn't have to be more in the general area thereof. But when he does that manipulation, instead of staring down, he's got enough velocity on those throws where he doesn't need a lot of window there if he can get in that right place on those throws to where that manipulation can be such a big deal. And stretching that guy out along here, this creates that just little extra pathway open, and now I can come in and I don't have to be quite as perfect. I don't have to be quite as precise even. But a lot of quarterbacks, young quarterbacks especially, don't want to be taking their eyes off target, don't want to be looking to the target late and trying to throw, that they can struggle a little bit with that. But he here pretty fluidly, on a couple of snaps in this game, showed some comfortability and just first goes inside, comes out, then comes outside. So we'll go slow here with the head. You can see he's looking at the Arroyo matchup here. Arroyo's kind of a little stop route here, and Arroyo kind of runs a weak route, in my opinion, here. That's not going to do it. Drive into the linebacker and then break out a little bit, I think is how he'd be coached there, but I don't know that for sure. So he sees it's not there, comes back to the next read, sees the reads open, throws it. Nicely done. He's not trying to move a safety there, but he's trying to look off. Again here, look to the high side, come back across the field. It's a work in progress, folks. This is why it's going to take a little bit of time, but I do love the intention. I think he always wants to come back to the backside on this play. I don't think he's really trying to get over there. I think his intention is to come back and get back over here, but you can see that two things go wonky on him here. Number one, ball placement. Outside, see how that ball carries inside there on the throw? Let me see if I can show you right there. So it's inside. Get that on the outside shoulder of the receiver. Try to take the defender away from that a little bit. But here you can see he just kind of throws it blind and decides he's going to throw it almost right off the turn. Here it's coming out. So a little bit of the accuracy issue and then not really seeing it there. But again, the intention's there where the head first goes over there, looking. Come back over there. We're watching him process game one of his first preseason game. This is an encouraging sign. This is an improvement point for me. He also got a little bit of the, I'll just stare it down and throw at it. This is a little bit more of what you get from in college, which is, I'm going to look. But I think even here, there's a little bit of, I can't be sure on this, but I think if you watch his head here, I think he's looking outside there first. So he's checking his outside read and then comes back down, just kind of the little under route there. A little, not under route, but a little, again, stop route to the tight end on Brady Russell there. But I think he's looking over there initially. He's looking over first at the outside, and then he's coming back underneath. Hard to say for sure, but got him with a couple of multi-read situations, which was nice to see. You got the legs, which is the factor they're going to come into play this year. We're talking about 2025. I know some of this is a little bit about the development of him, but a little bit of this is going to be about how he is going to be in what he brings as a runner. And this is going to be the danger in how you play him this year, is if you're going to rush 4 men at him, and then you're not going to have a spy. Linebackers are dropping into space. They're covering here. Royal getting covered by the linebacker. He feels it. And then he's got that ability now to accelerate in through the hole. Sato Lamea, still a work in progress in pass pro. It's coming along bit by bit. So we got him then getting outside here for a nice first down run, but you can just see how effortless he can be when he wants to turn this on. I felt this in training camp with him. When he just decides and he gets a front four and they're rushing outside their lanes and they're being a little bit too haphazard, like they're not trying to control him, there is no spy, he's going to exploit that and exploit it easily. And then if you want to now put a spy on him, that's going to make his reads even that much more easier now to find a guy that's open there. You got something more kind of simplified drawn up for him at that point. But these kind of, read option looks with him in shotgun like this, another read option, he doesn't do real play action here, but he could go to read option here. You could just drop back in a straight drop back and you can tell him to kind of run post snap. There's a lot of very controlled conditions you can kind of create for him in these situations to give him a big chance of success and even just bringing some impact to the field, giving those teams that kind of curveball they have to always prepare for every single week, and just makes the Seahawks harder to prepare for every single week if you've got that. Got him here too as well, drop him back, a little bit of an acceleration thing I want to show here, and then a little bit of the ability to he's a well-built guy, so he's not, kind of that light quarterback where if you get an arm on him, you're just dragging him down. He can kind of get, boom, through that first kind of tackle where that guy's got a good, clear arm on him here. You can watch 49 comes back inside here and see how he just gets his arm in there to try to wrap him up there. Look, he's all the way around his hip there. A lot of quarterbacks are going to just be kind of pulled right down, but sort of that sub-running back ability you get with him a little bit where he can get through and rip through some of that high tackle, if you were, and gets tackled very shortly after that, but turns a negative play into a good play here, basically. Might have had a little bit of Balin. I think he can just feel his right tackles being just pummeled, and that's got him freaked out, I think, a little bit here. But he also senses the games up front. So just this is also one where he just didn't quite see it as clearly, but makes something out of nothing at least. Doesn't become a negative play. You get a couple yards out of it. Big part of this offense when he's in there is going to be get us positive plays. So that read RPO game, read option, keeper, right around the side, first down, biggest run of the day. You put the defensive end into a hell of a pickle with this kind of game. And this is the action that you can just destroy teams with because you get 49. See 49 here? Seahawks go, we want to get him out to depth. We want 49 to go out there and go block upfield. He's going to be one of our lead guys upfield here. We're going to eliminate this edge just by the fact he has to read this. So you get, dual blocks at the point of attack, take care of your defensive tackles. Your weak side defensive end here. Let me back it up here. Your weak side defensive end here is already neutralized because he's out of the play. You don't really have to worry about him. You get a hat with Jarrell on him, but you're not worried there. Duo block here on the defensive tackle. Duo block on the defensive tackle here. You get your tight end, he's going to just go out and he's going to run. He's just out. And so this is going to now leave a freed up situation with the defensive end one-on-one on Milroe, having to read the running back or Milroe. And Milroe, smartly, because he's been doing this for years, can just sense, can feel it, just understands this innately, and he's got great ball action and his ability to hide the ball away and disguise what he's going to do and make it really hard for the defender to see what's going to happen with that ball at what point in time. Like, that looks like a handoff, doesn't it? Looks just like a handoff. But he gets that thing so deep in the stomach. Look at him. He's almost 2 yards up the field here running with him, and then he yanks it off. We've seen Lamar Jackson do this stuff. It's impossible for these edges to deal with because you have to do 2 for 1. You got to take care of the running back and you got to take care of the quarterback. And if you let the running back go and he gives the running back, look at the hole up front. With the 2 dual blocks that you've laid and the linebacker getting cleaned up the thing, that's big play with a running back if it's kept there. You could argue it could have gone both ways here. But look at that pickle that edge ends up, and he ends up chasing the wrong guy. And you end up with Milroe downfield, and look at your lead blocker there. Look at 49 and what he's done. He's now set up for you to be able to make this play even bigger. Great blocking down there. Ricky White, I think, is up there doing his job too. A couple guys laying some nice blocks here, but look at 49. 49 gets out there, and then he's your lead blocker. So when you have a guy like this, you can do this. That's a hell of a something you can just kind of wield out at any time on a football field. And there's not many quarterbacks that are as fast as him. It's hard for defenses to prepare for this kind of guy because there isn't that many that can do what he can do on that. My favorite play of the game with him, last play we'll feature here before I'll bounce over to you guys real quick here in the chat, is what I thought was his best play of the day. And I'm sure you guys would very much agree here. A play that just gets me dreaming about the future, especially in this offense, where under center, Milroe, not spread actions, Milroe, not read option, Milroe, under center, beautiful play action here. Defense buys in. Look at the linebackers. Watch this beautiful false steps by these linebackers towards the line of scrimmage. Look at that. That's wonderful. It's like Kubiak's playing a symphony and they can't help but dance. They just can't help themselves. They all get peeled in deep. He gets out to the edge. The linebacker's not where he's supposed to be. Wide open throw for Milroe there, and he's able to hit it on the run. Beautiful accuracy. Effortless throw with velocity. I love this play all the way around. This is just a thing of beauty. Can you imagine running this 10 times a game? And I just think he could run that. So, and then he comes around the edge. He's got an option to run it upfield if he wants. He doesn't have to necessarily throw it here. And you feel the acceleration from him getting away off that play action. There's a lot of times if you have a guy who's like got somewhat good legs, but they're not great legs, he might not be able to get away from these edges. But look, he just clears that easily. See, a lot of the skills he's got on this here, from the speed and the explosiveness, arm strength, ability to throw on the move. He's got that. He's not pinpoint with it, but he's good with it. So Milroe continues to be a guy that long-term, feeling a little bit better about the prospects of him long-term, as he's had a very successful training camp. He's had I think certainly more successful moments than what we've seen here than what I was feeling from Sam Howell last year. I'll say that. Not a real high bar to clear though either. But he's coming forward, and we come back to the 2025 impact of this. Could have come out for probably 6-7% of the snaps. Use him in the RPO stuff. Use him under center, rolling out at times within that as well. And finding then some efficiency and effectiveness with that to then add on top all of these little layers. I mentioned about the tight ends, couple hundred yards here, couple hundred yards here, 1,000-yard receiver here, Cooper Kupp right on the edge of 1,000 yards receiving himself. Couple of running backs that are able to be productive in this system on top of it. Bring in a quarterback who can give you at times some touches as far as a runner and as a thrower, and can give you some helpfulness as a red zone threat at times, especially with some of that read option stuff, which I feel like down by the red zone is just going to be so hard to deal with for teams. And that's where you're going to at times probably see a lot of Milroe to just allow you to get able to bang through on those drives where you're just kind of clipping away, and you might get down the red zone and the defense feels like they've got you, and then you've got this curveball you bring off the bench, and they're like, oh, now we got to deal with this. And then this becomes what helps to make the offense essentially way more effective than people are looking at them as possibly being effective this year and all of these prognostications, and allowing them to be more than just even barely middle of the road, but a upper middle of the road, right up around, digging up around that top sort of 10 state, because we know what this defense is, we know what the special teams unit is, but that's where I think these rookies help as much as ever. Coming back and just putting a pin on this in the final way I want to put on this. You don't get usually this many rookies that are going to be able to bring this much to the table from the jump. Zabel, Nick Emmanwori, Jaylen Milroe, Tory Horton, Robbie Ouzts. I feel with great confidence in seeing what these guys have done, absent injury or some big major setback, that these guys are adding something this year to this team, and it's going to be a major addition that they bring. It's not going to be just your typical rookie kind of seasons that you get. Let's go back to last year. Byron Murphy gave you some solid play as a nose tackle on the snaps that they rolled with that. Didn't get as much of the pass rushing reps, did he? And you felt good about a couple of guys and what they got. Tyrese Knight, that was strong will linebacker season. No doubt about that. AJ Barner, strong tight end season. That's the ends of about what you got for the most part off of that rookie group, unless I'm missing somebody that substantially stands out to anybody else out there. That was, kind of about it for the most part. And maybe George Holani now can make that class look a little bit better this year. Maybe a couple of these other guys, second years like a Haynes, can come back in and make it look a little bit better now here in this next year. But it kind of is what it was. This, far and away, just those guys I mentioned alone are going to be helpful. Say nothing then that you still have more behind that. Elijah Arroyo, been solid. Maybe he can work his way up in part of those names and be a part of those guys. And we talk about Riley Mills. We don't even know what we got in Riley Mills. I sat there and watched this guy on the field there as I was down by the scrimmage, real close. This guy's a big guy. I mean, and he's not a big guy with like the bad weight big guy where it's like, well, he's just fat, Brandon. Yeah, he's big. Whoop-de-doo. You saw a fat guy. Good job. What else do you got for us, Mr. Analysis? He's big. He's hardy. He's the kind of guy I wouldn't want to have to block him. He's got those just a big old dude right now. And it feels like he's doing upper body day 3 times a day now because he can't be doing his lower body. I don't know what it is. He's just out there just like a tank. So we don't know what we got with him. Jared Ivey, who I didn't even have a chance to feature on in his cut-ups, one of your best defensive players of this last preseason, all over the place, was just a monster off the edge for you. I mean, at the bare minimum, you might have a guy just on your practice squad you're feeling good about in his development as a long-term edge, especially knowing that he could be a power edge in this defense. He can fit as a component to what this defense wants from its edges. And in somewhat of a purest fashion, especially if he does develop as a pass rusher. He'll never have the athleticism and explosiveness, but if you're a smart player, if you play your butt off, if you're strong as hell, if you got some length, if you got some power, if you've got technique for days, you can get around that. It's not unavoidable. And there still is even guys beyond this. Mason Richmond, Connor O'Toole had himself a nice deal there. I'm not thinking Connor's going to do much in the future, but with Richmond and Cable Do, you got them kind of battling out, hoping somebody can be a little bit more of a steadying force there for you guard if you have to bring him into that place of things. He's played some tackle too as well, so there's some flexibility between those two guys, but there's even some more. They could be topped up onto this class. And so you're looking at this class as good as we thought they could be in how they were drafted. And I myself was not the guy that was in that camp of saying, well, this is definitely an A- draft. I felt like a lot of those draft grades that were given out because of the fact that people were looking at just sort of the multitude of picks that the Seahawks had, and it's a common thing I think that you see from every draft pundit where they end up giving A grades out to the teams that end up having 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick and 2 third-round picks. And it's like, well, yeah, they got to pick 3 times as much as anybody else. So it makes it easier to give them that great grade. But maybe I was a little bit short on this one, as maybe in retrospect we're going to come to find here that no, it was really legitimately that good. And then not only that good, but that ready to contribute very early on. You guys let me know. I know there might be a few other names I'm probably missing on this. Jarkady Wright in there as well. I know there's so many guys that have been doing good jobs coming in the door here on this. But I think this rookie class is ready to contribute, and I think they're ready to bring some impact. And it just gets me that much more hyped and that much more feeling good about the 11-win prognostication I placed, and if not even feeling that there's an upper end to that. Because the more these rookies can provide, the more potentiality you have to becoming a contending team this year, because you've got so many other parts of this team that are ready to roll, that there's not a question on, that that they're locked in, that they're going to be playing at the level that you would expect. So that topped on takes a little bit less of this mystery that seems to hang over the top of the Seattle Seahawks as it stands right now by many of the people and their outlook of the team. When you kind of apply a little bit more of the strength behind it, we'll see. We'll see, but I'm hyped after going through training camp and watching this preseason game, seeing these guys so far along. Speaks to not only how well the Seattle Seahawks have drafted, but the type of player they're drafting and how good a job they're doing in developing. Having a guy like Nick Emmanwori back there playing like an impact player in training camp off the shoot, just something we don't see every day here. Take a guy like Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas had a lot of rough footing initially early on, even as a highly drafted guy. There was thoughts and times of even thinking about benching him in that rookie year because he wasn't, ascribing to all the things he needed to do in that defense. So it may seem like these kind of things just happen all the time. That's why maybe I'm kind of harping on here a little bit, is that this stuff just kind of every year we get this kind of thing. Every year it happens. No, this is kind of unique right now, what we're seeing and what we're hearing, especially some of these guys that were like Tory Hortons, your 5th round kind of picks, that they're fitting into a line with the other stuff. And you're going, whoa, embarrassment of riches. But you guys let me know. I thank you for watching today. If you could for me, of course, hit that like button. We're going to go here for about another 45 minutes or so, so it won't be as long a show here today, but we're going to be coming back, I think, again tomorrow at 12, as I've got some cut-ups and some sound bites that I want to play for you guys, giving us some clarity on certain situations here with the team, on certain things that we've wondered about, and just also some things that I think are worthy of discussion as well. Let me get over to a couple of these donations, as I know I'm a little bit late on these, and I do thank you guys for these. As always, you guys are awesome in that way. HHG, thank you for the $2 dono. Says week 1 is starting to look better and better for us. Yeah, and indeed. The Niners have not looked great by most accounts. It's part of what I'm going to be asking Jesse about tonight on what we're hearing about with Niners camp, and that there is a little bit of, I don't know if it's concern or worry at this point, but there's definitely a little bit of okay. They didn't get a lot from the rookies in their first game. On that defensive line that they were looking for, especially as far as pressures go. And they got handed to them a little bit on that. And you do still have the Juwan Jennings things kind of floating around out there. The receiver situation with Ayuk, we know he's going to miss the game. Malik Mustafa is going to be missing that game as a safety for the Niners. Already that's what, they're kind of walking into there. So kind of watching that as well, HHG, where you look at that opening Niner matchup and you go, we may have the stage set for us at the right time, and when we're playing the Niners this year. Not that you don't want the team to be at full strength and be battling at the height, the powers to see where you stand, but it's opening week. You know what I mean? We want to start this thing off with a dub. We don't apologize for that by any means necessary. You know what I mean? And Niners are also a little bit at the end of their road on this. The window is almost, if not shut, it's getting close to being shut, and this is kind of what happens as the thing starts to shut. Guys start pissing and moaning about money, and injuries start becoming an issue, and you start struggling to replace players that you had to let walk because money was an issue. And that's where they may be kind of starting to head here a little bit. But we'll see. Can't forget as well, they cut $80 million of dead money on the books this year. So they've definitely had, they bled a lot of blood. Where's my soundbite on that? Niners have bled themselves a lot of blood. There we go.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Nolan in the house. What's up, Nolan? Thank you for the $20 donation. I think Nolan, in fact, dropped a double dose of the donos. So appreciate you for that, Nolan. It's good to see you in the house, brother. And thank you, man, for everything you do. I wish I could give a credit to the creator. I watched the guy that did a really great job pointing out just how fast Zabel's feet fire off. Sometimes 2 or 3 steps before Bradford even gets 1 step. No shade to Bradford. No, it's just his quickness, light feet. Active feet, I guess, is what I would say with it too. I mean, it's active and quickness are probably kind of the same thing in how it looks, but it's almost kind of like a purposefulness, like you say, Nolan, because with a guy like Bradford, that's not a guy that couldn't not, he's got the athleticism, he can move his feet fast, but I think that there's a bit of a tendency in some offensive linemen to where your feet kind of stop moving and you just start to make it all rely upon your upper body and your long arms to get it done, as opposed to you're thinking more in terms of like, I have my long arms and I have my body to help me, but my feet need to get this done. My feet are going to accomplish this block. These are just up here kind of ancillary to help out. But the feet and me being in front of this guy's body are going to be central to this. Versus the guy who's long who might think, I don't have to be in front of him. I can still control him over here. I can still control him over here. It's like, no, you're not controlling him as well as you do when you got him head up and you're staying in front and you're mirroring. And the mirroring especially too, where is it as much the quick feet or the quickness? I don't know, or just a feel for where guys are going and how they're going to get there and what he needs to do as far as the urgency to meet that guy at the spot. But you don't hit some of the blocks we showed on tape today and those reach blocks in particular, if you don't have those quick lateral steps to get to that place. And it's something that, a lot of linemen just don't have. And if Zabel's going to be a really good player in this league, Nolan, it's going to be on the back of that lower base being as nice as it is, as smooth as it is. He's just an athletic guy, and he's well built to be a guard in there too as well, as far as especially for the system, being a former tackle convert, where you get to feel that athleticism show up kind of over and over again, be it in pass pro or when he's having to get to some of those harder to reach kind of blocks. But really good player and really far along, like we had hoped, but you never know. You know, you say these evaluations at the time that they're picked, Nolan, where you go, this guy should be ready-made. He's got all these snaps in the book. He's played a variety of different positions. He's already played some left guard. It's not going to be the first time he's sliding into that position. And you go, should be not light years for us to have to get to the place where he'll be ready to go. And you hope that, but again, like we had said that about Haynes last year too, where he was supposed to be one of the most ready-made right guards, if not the most ready-made right guard in that entire NFL draft. And we're still ready. We're still waiting for the ready and mating to happen on that one. Hasn't quite snapped together there. So he's good. And that's a great way of mentioning it on that about those feet, how fast they do fire, because I see it as well. And it stands out just in him staying in front of guys. Him just always helps him too. Even when he loses the rep, quote unquote, he can always regain the rep back because those feet will still kind of always save him. He does have the strength and he does have, you know, that rooting down power too. He's not just kind of a one-trick pony, but those feet will be the thing that can make him a difference maker at the position if he can become one, Nolan, to your point. But thank you, man. I really appreciate the $20 donation, brother. And well said. Nolan also on with another $5 says, on that great pass to Ouzts, if they had handed it to Martinez, he had a gigantic hole to the right too. One of the parts that I'm liking about this offense as well, Nolan. I saw a few other cuts I didn't notice on that one, but on a couple of other cuts, I saw the same thing. And maybe one thing that we'll see that's cool with Kubiak is it's like kind of like I showed on the Milroe one. Exactly, that I was just thinking about, where you sort of, the play is so well designed that you have a 25-yard run whichever way you want to take it. Do you want to give it to Jarcadia right up the hole on the read option keeper and just let him take it because the defensive end's a little late to him already? Or do you want to get around the edge and just keep it anyway and go take your 25 around the sideline, Jaylen? Because he's not going to be able to catch you up to either there. You know, surf or ski. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And that's maybe going to be one of the cool parts we get to get with the Kubiak scheme and system and how good it is that he can get multiple things opening up for you on one play because it's so well designed. And it is designed. It's not running plays. He's not drawing things up in the dirt. It's designs, it's sequencing, it's setting defenses up. It's getting them looking one way, you come in the other. There's just, it's pre-snap motion and adjustments and movement. All these type of things to make these things freed up and open up for your players to have an easier job to get their job done. It's central to the system in so many ways. But well said, Nolan. Well said. Ski or surf, bro. Ski or surf. Poncho Honcho. And Nolan, you're the man, for the big $25 in donos today. I appreciate you. Poncho Honcho, I appreciate you as well with the $5. Hey, Brando, are you doing fantasy draft this year? If so, how can we join? And will there be a giveaway involved? Go Hawks, baby. I actually still have, I got to get the winner last year of it. We've had it pretty hard lined in, Poncho, to where we've got I think the pretty locked in, draft on that side of it. I will, because the hard part is if I do open up, we just do a fresh one where I just open up another league and have everybody roll at it. That'll, I can't manage it or anything. I can't commish and do all that stuff. It's too much. When we got a guy that does commish our other league, but our other league filled up there, Poncho. If you can, maybe you either comment in the video or if you can email me at TheSeahawksNest@gmail or DM me on Twitter too, or at me on Twitter. That also works. I can see where we're at in the league with that. I know we're going to do it again this year. I just don't know if there'll be spots available. So we may end up having to run like a double man league or something like that at that point to see if we can, because we do have so many requests on doing it. But yes, I have been giving out, I got to get out my commish some swag in the winter last year. I owe them, but we will be on this year's draft too. I'll just have to check and see if there are spots. So hit me up on those DMs, HeyHawksNest@gmail or @SeahawksNester at Twitter. And I'll reach back out to our guy and get an update on him and see where we're at and see how many spots we do have. And we'll get you at the head of the stack. I got one other guy there that's requested it, but you'll be the number 2 there. So if we got him, maybe there's a little turnover every year. we'll get you inserted in there, Poncho. Thank you for reaching out. I've been trying to figure out a way to get one going that'll make sense. Like I want to do one through Underdog last year, but then there's we couldn't pull it off because nobody had access to the Underdog app from Washington State or could use it that way. So I'm just trying to figure out how the right way to do it. And I don't want to commission it because I just don't have the time on it. So it's got to be like a self-run kind of league situation in some way or another. But I'll try to figure out something inventive with that as we go forward because we definitely are almost filled up, or if not almost filled up, kind of filled up over there. Hit me up offline though. I'll see what we got. Outdoors for Life. Thank you for the $2 donation. Outdoor for Life. Ouzts was very impressive in his first outing. It was indeed. He gave you the fullback skills you want brought to bear. He showed you the benefit of a fullback that's been missing from our offenses for quite a bit of time. We showed a little bit of it last year here and there from Grubb, but not anywhere near in the level of being committed to it or running a lot of plays that interwork off of each other from fullback concepts. So I do find, I think that he was really impressive in not only being a really good player, but just the fit and how this works so well in Kubiak's scheme. I think anybody that watched the offensive performance could understand and realize if you walked into it of, well, why does Kubiak want fullbacks? I mean, I know he had Taysom Hill, but he just kind of inherited Taysom Hill. So why does he want to still do that as a thing? Aren't these things going away a little bit? And it's like, no, this is why a guy like Shanahan still invests freaking $7 billion a year into Kyle Juszczyk. So it's the value is there in this offense for a fullback to do a variety of different skills and be the kind of blocker, which I think in Ouzts' case, I don't think he'll be the athletic pass catcher that I think you could get in a guy like Juszczyk, but I think he can be much better as a blocker and much more devastating as a blocker. And what that's going to do for our running backs, it's going to be Kenneth Walker's best friend. Charbonnet the same way. Running backs love having the fullbacks in front of them. A lot of plays go to hell, not because 6 of the defensive players kick their guys' butt on offense. I'm talking about run plays. A lot of run plays go to hell because you get 10 guys do their job, 9 guys do their job. 1 guy blows it so badly, you've got a defender right here after you've just got the ball. And you got to make some miracles happen. And if instead of it being right here like this, you could have a Secret Service agent that just takes that guy and escorts him off the football field, and now suddenly instead of a guy right here, there's just this wide open space. It's a beautiful thing. Running backs love it. Yeah, that's why they become best friends for life, like Marshawn and Michael Robinson. Max Strong and Sean Alexander probably are in touch every other day or something too. They create that like blood brother connection thing. But he was very impressive, Outdoor for Life, and thank you for the donation. Love what we saw at him. He's going to be a good player here, and you can see there's a reason the Seahawks targeted him. They had a very specific thing in mind when how they wanted to use Ouzts. The rest of the NFL looked at him and said, we don't see a tight end. Seahawks said, yeah, we don't either. Let him fall. Sanchez, R. Sanchez is the name, has been celebrating 34 months. I said 34 months as a Hawks Nest member. Thank you for that long time support and devotion, man. I appreciate it. Watch some Raiders content. They were complaining about the poor tackling. Don't miss that at all. We look crisp. It's a good point, Sanchez. It's been one of the places that did mightily improve under Mike McDonald in the first year, which was tackling. And I think that some of this is back to a little bit of, the intensity of practices, the intensity of training camp, the inter squad scrimmages. Those are going to be those days. I mean, I think those things are so important and they're so underrated. And I know you don't do a lot of them, and you'll have your 1 or 2 days you do your inter practice thing and it's full pad, but it is full pads. It's going to be intensity. It gets hot. There's a lot of fights. You get worried about injuries, but it also is that creating of the callus thing. And I think with Coach Carroll, he just threw his arms up a little bit at the end when it came to the CBA and how to train players and how to get them, prepared and ready. And I think he was more old school in his nature back in the day with it, where he'd have them run hard and he would, run hard training camps. I don't think he ran soft training camps. It's just that I don't think he drove as much of the intensity in this way as Mike does, with so much on, we're going to get this callus built up by game 1. It's not something we're going to build over the course of the season. It's going to be something that we walk into game 1 with. And that's good tackling is, I think, one of the barometers of that. How do I see that? How do I know that on the football field? How do I know that your team's been a team that is out there in that summer sun sweltering, and you're getting after it? You're banging. You're not just sort of two-hand touching after every play, but you understand we gotta be good tackle. We gotta work at it. It means there's gonna be some painful days in training camp, so we can have some really great days of tackling when it comes to fall and winter. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't miss that. I don't miss the high rates of penalties. Too many penalties in that game. And another thing where the Raiders were a little bit of that's a Raider thing though too. And with Pete too on this, I think got to give him credit with this where there's no coach that's walking in there. Bill Belichick, there's no Sean McVay walking in there in one off season and fixing that organization in the way that it needs to be fixed to get it right. I think in Pete's case, it's going to take him some time. I think he'd like to try to get this going faster than slower, but I think he's going to recognize, like he did in Seattle, all that needs to kind of be done to get this in the right place. And that's going to be where it's just going to take some time. It's an organization that's been pointed in the wrong directions for so many years, with ownership in the wrong direction for so many years, but they've gotten it right, I think, with Carroll and Brady there as a combination. And those two guys, I think, are going to, eventually find their way on that to making it happen. But thank you, Sanchez. Appreciate you, man. Feed More Seahawks. Thank you for the $2 donation. Says, looks like Zabel is beating those center accusations. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I was concerned that's where he was going to slide. I'm almost not concerned to even a little bit that's where he's going to go at this point. He looks like a pure natural fit in there as a left guard. He looks like that ideal version of that left tackle to guard convert that you hope you can pull off, but you never quite know if it's going to really work. Where you go like, yeah, but he should go in there and he should be fine on this front on the strength side, but then he's going to have super uber athleticism for being a guard because he's a former tackle. This should be great. It's like, that's the ideal. In your head, in your imagination, that's how you think it should work, but it's so often than not, it doesn't quite, twist out in that fashion of things. But yeah, looks like he's a left guard, man. He's set. He's set. What's up, Bryce? Who's in the house? Hello, man. Minty, what's up? CD Woods. Again, Mark, good to see you too, brother. Superior Lord. How you doing? C. Lord says, nice looking tan you have there, Brandon. Got to get on that sun one before we get into winter, man. There'll be many winter months where I don't see the sun, so I got to get while the getting's good. I got to do it. Yeah, see, Lord, Martinez was, as you say, shockingly average looking was kind of my thing too with it. I didn't expect him to be super explosive, but I did feel like the lack of tackle breaking was a little bit weird, where everybody that got their hands on him just took him right to the ground. B251 says, love Sharps, but I don't think his zone fits scheme. I don't think the zone scheme fits him. We'll see with it on that. I can understand that. And I don't know. He's got some close attributes to some of what Shanahan would look into a system with running backs. But to your point, is it pure? Maybe not on that. There's some close stuff there. It might be proved to be close enough. Yeah, and we'll be going till probably 5:45-ish tonight, and I'm going to then try to get back tomorrow at like 12 o'clock. I've got some sound bites I want to play with you guys and talk to you guys just some things that players are discussing. Kind of in that hope, again, we're going to start to motor the content around the as much as we'll make sure we got these daily shows coming out every day if I can. It's kind of be the goal as we kind of start to really lock this in and get this as normalized. Superior Lord, we passed one hole. Now the center can focus more on the right side. Very true. More confidence. Good point. More confidence you have in there. And you saw a few of those moments, Superiority Lord, where Zabel was, out there in pass protection, and you had Bradford over here on the right side, pass protection, and Sundell kind of had an option to go either way. And now when you do know that Zabel's able to handle what he does, and your center can know, like, that guy's taking care of his job, I can kind of slide over here, snap after snap, if I want to help out Bradford. Maybe you make Bradford better by that too. Great point. Dogzilla says that Rams defensive line looked like crap. Imagine playing the Rams instead. It's not the greatest of tests. Dogzilla, I'll say that. I will say they did play their starters first. Somehow you rolled it, but it's not the greatest of tests. There's no two ways about it. You got Max Crosby. They're trying to bring Tyree Wilson along, but there's not a lot there. There just isn't. And we're going to get a little bit of a better test this next week with the Kansas City team. Green Bay should provide some decent test for them as well. But admittedly, it's not, prime city there, dealing with that defensive line. That's for sure. They're going to make a lot of offenses look good this year. To your point. PGZ in the house. What's up, PGZ? Chris says if Gordon continues like this, Valdez Counting won't be wide receiver 3 for long. I don't think he will either. I think his days are numbered there on that one. Misfit, what's up, man? Spaces, have we ever had this many rookies that were able to be starters? I don't. A couple of years ago, you did run with a lot when you did the Lucas, Cross, Walker, Woolen. Technically, Kobe Bryant was your starting slot. But that was also a team that just didn't have as much on the team. So there were so many spots open that provide those rookies a lot of openings. I mean, this is a team that was returning 11 starters defensively. You had left tackle and right tackle were set. Your top 2 running backs were set. Had a couple of receivers already in place. These rookies are coming in and they're doing this on a roster that's got a lot more to it, which makes it more impressive to me. Yeah, Masher, the RPO has the Seahawks salivating, no doubt. That thing still works when you have a guy like this. I mean, that Cam Newton MVP season, they weren't running Cam Newton on a lot of extravagant stuff out there. Cam Newton would operate almost solely just about at times out of that RPO stuff. And it would be simplistic reads out of RPO concepts. Read option pass, play after play after play. And it would be so tough for defenses because there just isn't a lot of guys built like Cam Newton. There's nobody built like Cam Newton. And Milroe's got a lot of those same kind of vibes, the way that Lamar Jackson does too. When you're that uniquely built as a kind of running quarterback and you can be at least functional as a passer and not just a complete close your eyes and huck it thrower, defenses get real simple real fast because they have to. Misfit Saubert does look better than Farrell Brown. And that was Farrell Brown's whole claim to fame coming here, was that he was supposed to be a run blocking tight end at the first and foremost to give you a little bit of pass catching. But I think in Saubert, you feel a lot more better about his strength and just ability to really, really lock in there in that way. Or Chief, I really like Jaylen Milroe's game. He has a quick release and doesn't hang on to the ball too long, like they said. He can run. If he settles down, he'll be able to pass. He's a rookie, but good. Yeah. I think it's a fair assessment. I do like the quick release about as much of anything in his motion, the quick release. The ball gets up and out so very fast that that's going to help him over time as he refines that delivery down. Because that thing's going to be such a benefit to him combined with the velocity. Because a lot of those guys that have the velocity, it's the windup that comes with the velocity to get it. And then the windup then allows essentially for your guy to jump the route. It allows for the cornerback to recover and get a couple steps to drive on the ball. First, just up, out with velocity. Now I don't have that extra time to make those jumps. Shanda, why do you have Metcalf's jersey and not Lockett's? Metcalf hasn't done anything in years. Oh, it's just we all have our players we like and don't like. I had for a lot of the years that Metcalf was here, he was one of my favorite players on the team. So Shandia, I had a subscriber that noted that I had said that. And so they sent me a signed Metcalf jersey. So I've got 2 jerseys signed, but I'll add more in time. I'll maybe add Lockett's in there in time as well. But I think Metcalf was a really good player for us. I don't think he deserves any shade. I think he was a good soldier for us, and I don't mind representing his jersey behind me. But everybody's got their players they like and don't like, or players that they kind of aren't as big on. But I like Metcalf. I love Largent. He's my favorite all time. But if somebody sends me a signed jersey, signed Seahawks jersey, I'll probably put it on my backdrop. Eventually we'll just have a bunch of signed jerseys back there, which will look cool. Quinn says Gray Zabel Lucas, the perfect lineman. Are we doing the round table? Yeah, we'll be doing the round table in 20 minutes, 6 o'clock. So that's one of the reasons we're doing a little bit of a shorter show today, folks. I'll be bouncing over to the NFC West round table. Be doing that every week, 6 o'clock. Pacific Standard Time. You want to get subbed up to the channel. That's the way to watch it, is you actually got to sub up to the channel over on the NFC West Roundtable. It's a different channel here, but we'll be doing those every week at Tuesday at 6 o'clock. But yeah, we'll be doing a quick one here. William Tarkowski says, I'm subscribed to your channel. Thank you. For this channel, go Hawks. We're beating the Niners week 1, and the Rams are going down. We're owning this division again. Get in my belly! Get in my belly. I want this division too, Brian William. Let's get it. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, brother. And I'm with it. I think the Niners are right there at that last little, just that last gasp. That's where it feels like the Niners are at right now. And then the Rams, here's what the Rams feel like. Oh, my back. God. Oh, it hurts so bad. God, I want to retire. I want to retire so bad. My back hurts so bad. Oh. That's where the Rams are at as an organization. Daniel W., any chance we are sitting Tyrese Knight to put in a trade package with Micah Parsons? Cowboys would need a linebacker to replace him in addition to his edge duties. I would be pretty surprised if that was the case. I think that they're probably much more likely just being very, very careful with injuries at this time of year. I think the medical science has probably shown that a lot of injuries become exacerbated over time because you get the minor injuries in training camp and you kind of just have the player try to just sort of tough it out and begin that process through the season versus get him healed up, allow him to get up to by game 1, not having to carry it through the year, and you get to start him kind of from a 0 point as far as the health standpoint goes. It's not completely out of line that a team could do that, Daniel. That they could be in this, because let's understand this. If you're going to put a Micah Parsons kind of package together in a trade, you're going to have a lot of moving parts to make that happen. And it's not going to be just overnight where, Jerry goes, handshake deal. Here, you give us this, we'll get that, and then that's good, and we're good. It's going to be more like tete-a-tete, want this, want that guy, how's this going to work? We want to get this extension done with this guy if we trade for that guy, I think there's going to be a bit of that would have to have happened. So then that could lead you maybe holding a player or two out if you had to from practice. So it's not completely out of line with this kind of odd sort of trade that would come down the line, like completely unusual almost with anything in NFL history. Somebody was saying that, Micah got traded. It would be a little bit like the Luka Doncic trade with basketball last year. And I think that that's probably pretty fair. It's very similar in that way. It's maybe, but I think they're more just being careful. That's my given instinct on this. Jagad, Gray Zabel picking up that inside move on Olani's run to the outside when he was starting to pull, but then picked up the tackle was a genius move for a rookie guard. He's a smart kid, chicken god. And that's the Benny of getting a guy who's played so many years, already in the league and has that he's comfortable. He just has that wisdom a little bit, almost a little bit. You got a little bit of gray beard coming into the league. Or sometimes those guys that are just raw and they're going to take some time and you're going to have to give him a couple of years. He shouldn't be that way. And he doesn't seem to be that way, but for plays like that. Thomas says, why would you trade an edge for a middle linebacker? Makes more sense trading Mafia or Hall rather than trading for Knight or Parsons. I would typically tend to agree with that, Thomas. I don't think that that's going to be the way this goes either. But you never know. Jerry likes Tyrese. He went to UTEP. Sanchez, thank you for another donation, man. Appreciate the $10 donation. What are we doing at linebacker depth? It's embarrassing. What trades are left on the board? I'm not aware of any real inside linebacker types unless you want to do sort of the aging guy that does he have one more year in him, kind of old inside linebacker / kind of will guy, like your, was it Eric Kendricks, right? Those kind of linebackers that are in the league they've been around, but how much do they got really, like Denzel Perryman types? Those will be the types you will see that'll be kind of on, theoretically kind of scrap heap city as far as once you get to cut down day. There'll be a couple of those guys. And I'd expect the team would look at one of those guys for that depth piece there, Sanchez. Is there a trade for an inside linebacker in the league right now that I've seen that stands out to me of a team? Not necessarily, but then I'm not really always sure on every team of where they might be at a little bit of their last bit of patience on a particular player and willing to move him versus me thinking that guy's there and they're trying to make him work and they're committed to making it work with that inside linebacker on this given squad. So it's one where there's not a lot out there as it stands right now. But to your point, I think I would be pretty surprised if we're going to get into game one and Josh Jones and Drake Thomas, Patrick O'Connell, that these guys are your backup depth. That you would have something else a little bit more there that's solidified. But Mike's talked about feeling good about these guys and what they've brought and that they've developed over time as young players, specifically with Drake Thomas and Patrick O'Connell. So we'll see if those guys, they just feel that good about it. I mean, that definitely doesn't it, Sanchez, to how confident they have to be in these guys that you roll with those guys in light of the fact that there's not that much depth there and that Tyrese Knight has also been dealing with his knee injury, meaning you're going to maybe have to call in that depth and sooner than later, especially week one. So I don't think you go into week one with, now again, they're playing some of Nick Emmanwori at will linebacker right now, so maybe Emmanwori at will week one. But I just don't think you go into week one with Drake Thomas or Patrick O'Connell at will. I think you would have found, something else, even to just get by for a couple weeks, they can give you a little bit more impact there. I wish I could give you more trades on the linebacker front, but when I was doing my offseason look at guys that were kind of on that edge, so to speak, there's just not a lot of guys there that stood out to me that kind of fit the marker of being ready to sort of be moved. Everybody's kind of happy with the guy that they've got. Kind of just double checking real quick here, Sanchez, see if I got somebody that maybe jumped out on. Yeah, you kind of got your. It's just kind of where it is. I mean, you got teams like the Rams, they're going to be running out guys like Nate Landman. I mean, you just look within our own division. Sanchez right now, I think that what's happened is we got a little bit of a dearth right now of really good linebacker play in the NFL. But, I mean, linebackers, they're inside linebackers. You love Warner as far as the Niner goes. Winters isn't a bad player. 6th, 7th round pick. Okay. And the Rams, they don't even care about inside linebackers. You almost get the impression that they're trying to move to a point where they eventually won't need inside linebackers. We'll just put 2 down linemen on up front or something. 1 extra safety, 1 down lineman. So it is a little bit of a thing where I think maybe this is just speaking to as well, Sanchez, some of the devaluation of the inside linebacker a little bit, the off-ball linebacker. But I think they're going to do something. I don't have a good answer for you on specifics, but I do think they're going to do something. Outdoor for Life, thank you for the $2 donation. Lockett is my favorite Seahawks player. Underrated. I love me some Lockett. Yeah, and I'm definitely a pro Lockett guy too as well. The guy had a brilliant career. Always got to give a tip of the cap to the guy that goes on, has the long career as an undersized guy, but then as a guy that's undersized who, after his first couple of years in the league, he had a major injury that probably robbed him. Some of it did rob him of some of his quickness and some of his speed. And yet he was still able to be a very, impactful guy in this sport and consistent guy in this sport. And a lot he brought to the play in that way. And he'll always be, I think, very well revered in the annuals of Seahawks history. But great player. And we've been really lucky enough to have a lot of really good wide receivers who've come through here over the years. Variety of different types. From your Largents to your Brian Blades to Joey Galloways to DK Metcalf's, Tyler Lockett's, to Doug Baldwin, Golden Tate's, even for a little bit of as fun as he was there for a year or two. So we've had some good ones. Bobby Ingram, Corn Robinson, the 1 year he went for 1,300 yards. How good he looked as he seemed like the second coming there. But Locke's good. Locke's really good. Eventually I'm going to get a video done on my channel, Outdoors on Lockett. Maybe I'll feature it as one of my great moment videos or just a video on him specifically. But absolutely, he's worth revering in the fan base. He was a great teammate and a great Seattle Seahawk. Thomas says, I hate admitting I'm wrong, but Zabel has a mean streak, and I like his physicality. Hey, we all got our spots, man. We all got our spots. Lord knows I have my share too, But it's all about, getting it's more than being right. It's always what I say, get it right. Don't be right. Just get it right. Maybe it takes you a little time to get there, but as long as you get there, that's the most important thing. Thomas says, I think Horton already took the wide receiver 3 job after the game. He played against the Raiders. The NFL regret that Seattle got Horton, Ouzts in later rounds. I think they will as well, Thomas. I think I can't agree with you more. I think Horton is just rising, and it's just he's playing too many good days of practice, and everything's just kind of building one on another. It just feels like the momentum is driving in that way. I love it. Thomas, I keep questioning, is Seattle in that contender level that getting a Parsons or Hendrickson will put Seattle over the top? I'm not sure right now. And I don't think, we don't even know if Parsons really is even a possibility of getting on the open market. I think it's hard to say. And I think even from John Schneider's perspective on this, Thomas, it's hard for him to say. I think he's turning this kind of stuff over in his own head because he's got the money burning in a hole in his wallet. But at the same point in time, he still doesn't quite exactly know what to expect of his team the upcoming season. He's got hope. He certainly is probably very high on the team and its potential, but he also just doesn't quite know for sure. And you want to be a little bit more closer to sure, I think, if you're going to make those kind of moves. And it's part of why I think if I'm making the prediction game on this, John ends up leaning in the direction of more of waiting till you get a little bit into the season before he starts to try to go make a major move to help this team out. And in the name of being able to just better track with a little more certainty about where the team's going in the 2025 season. Chick God, I'd like to see O'Toole get some snaps to that inside linebacker. He's 6'5", 250, and I'd see probably a front runner to be that special teams captain. Got himself a couple pressures last week. He looked pretty good coming off the edge, Chicken God. I'd be all right with that too. They're doing already some of this with Sheriff, right? With some of the off-ball stuff they've done with him. Why not? Seems like there's a lot of fluidity in McDonald's defense between doing a little bit more of the inside linebacker edge stuff. Thrill House says, hey, B, nice to see the Hawks in a new scheme. Defense is a bit confused. Love Kubiak says he can play 5 different ways out of one package. Ouzts looks good. Any tight end surprise you for tight end 3? I think Saubert. Saubert's been the guy to me that I would have, when we first signed him, I've told you, well, he's kind of a quasi run blocking tight end, but is even that good as a run blocking guy? And looks like a guy that's a good all around blocker. Threllis looks like he can give you both the pass and the run blocking. And then it also seems like he's got a little bit of some hands to him at times too if you need him to use it. Where he's not just a complete brick hands guy where he can reel it in a little bit there if you throw it to him. So I like what we saw out of him. The run blocking and the pass protecting is so important. The pass protection, especially in this scheme at times when you want to run to max pass protect and You're going to run your tight end sometimes out onto an edge, and you're going to try to get everything kind of condensed inside off of that to give your quarterback that time there in the pocket to let things set up down the field. But I agree with everything you said, man. I'm seeing the same sort of stuff as well. Ouzts looking really solid. But Saubert's been the one that I think has really kind of knocked Brady Russell into more of probably that role of being more on the practice squad at this point, because he is just so good as that run blocker. Even with Fant gone at this point, I think he's solidified himself into that role. Arroyo's showing better than I thought. I kept pointing Fant in, but Arroyo's showing he's talented. He is. He is indeed. And he's staying healthy and out there and available every day in practice, which is really good to see. The health part's the thing that you watch a little bit with Arroyo. And that's been good too. So he's been just one of those guys. We went through at the top, Thomas, with just like 6, 7 guys you can kind of mention from this rookie class who all seem to be having their sights set on to making some impact this upcoming season. Maybe they're not going to completely turn into just these all-world players from the jump, but that you're going to feel their presence in a major way from game one of this football season. And what that can do to this team, what that can do to help take this team up that next notch this season to get them to a place of actually being able to make some noise, I think is a real possibility. Real possibility on top of what this team has already kind of put together. Haven't heard anything on Fannin yet in camp. It's felt like it's been a little bit of a quiet camp for him, King Bomber. It does indeed feel like a little bit of a quiet camp there. So I haven't been paying close attention to him, but that's just kind of the general feeling and flow. All right, we got 5 minutes here until we're going to be bouncing on over to the NFC West Roundtable. So please do join me over there, as I'll be live there in 5. I thank you guys for watching today. We're going to try to get another show up tomorrow, as we're going to be really trying to lock in on getting these daily shows up Monday through Friday for you guys. Kind of varying times. 12 o'clock is generally the time we're going to shoot for, but some days will be later than others, depending on what's going on with the schedule. We've got jam-packed shows lined up for you here over the next week. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow, daily show. We got Thursday, B&B show. We'll be coming at you looking at a game preview of this Chiefs game. We've got, of course, the Chiefs game on Friday. So we'll be just rocking and rolling here as we are about to get into mid-season form, even though it's preseason. That's what we're trying to do, man. Get ready to roll. Hit that ground running. And so please do ride with me here. I appreciate you guys hitting that like button, and thank you guys for some of the great questions and comments today on the chat as ever. But do please slam on that like button if you can. Helps out the channel, helps me grow, helps me show. And of course, too, please do get subbed up. I will be back over here in less than 5 minutes, over on the NFC West Roundtable. Please join me over there. But beyond all that, get hyped up on this team. Get hyped for what they can do this year. Get hyped up for what these rookies are going to be able to contribute to what already was a very good team last year. 10 wins, returning 11 starters, 15 defensive players that started last season. Yeah, there is some turnover, but there's a lot returning. A lot of continuity there, and then you're adding this on top. What could it be? What great sights could we see on the back of all this coming together in a big, beautiful way? Well, that is going to be the fun of this upcoming NFL season. So you shouldn't ever forget this great year on deck. Go Hawks.